Today we're going to be doing a quick getting started example of MassTransit where we'll go from nothing and we'll transition to using the MassTransit in-memory transport, and from there we'll then transition again to the Azure Service Bus. So we can get an idea of just kind of like getting started. We're not going to get into any advanced usage of MassTransit. It's simply just if you don't know where to start, this is a good place to start. With that said, the first thing that I like to do when working with MassTransit, especially if I'm on a new computer, is I like to go ahead and install the MassTransit templates. So let's do that. You can see that MassTransit comes with a variety of templates, and we're going to start with the worker. So .NET new MT worker, and we're going to give this the name of getting started. All right. So with that done, let's go ahead and cd into getting started. And let's go ahead and writer getting started. Okay. So what we can see here is that we've just made a very simple, a very basic console application using Microsoft hosting extensions. And this should look really familiar to you. We're going to ignore a good chunk of this stuff, but this is the piece of code that's going to register everything for us into the container and make MassTransit aware of it as well. And you can see here at the bottom that we're using the in-memory transport. Not a lot to set up here, so because it is such a simple transport. The next thing that we'll want to do, of course, is get a consumer. So let's go ahead and use the template for that, .NET new MT consumer. And we're going to call this one hello, because every getting started example kind of has to say hello world. So we'll come over to our contracts here, and we've got hello and we've got value. I want to make this a little more meaningful to me, so let's go ahead and rename it to name. And then we'll go over to the consumer. And as I mentioned, our goal here is to write something to the screen. For that, I'm going to use the Microsoft extensions, logging extensions. So we've got the logger coming out of the container. Oh, so nice. And then we'll say logger, log information, hello, name, context message, name. Okay, so the consumer is very much like your MVC controller. This is what's going to react to incoming messages, and unlike a controller, an MVC controller where you're typically going to have a lot of actions on each class, we just recommend one consume method, which is defined by the interface per class. The consume context, if I'm drawing parallels to ASP.NET MVC, is your HTTP context, and then this is the message, the type of the message property right here. So name tracks back to this hello class over here. Also worth noting, you can use classes, records, you can even use interfaces, which was an older way of making sure that you had read-only contracts. And with that, we have everything that we need for a controller to write out to the screen. Now we need a way to publish messages. So in order to publish messages, we're going to use the very handy background service from the hosting extensions. And what we're going to do is walk into a while loop, and we'll do stopping token.is cancellation requested. So we're saying while the token has not been canceled, we're just going to keep doing this. And what's really cool here is this is async await. So this looks kind of like a busy loop, except it's not, because we're going to say things like await task.delay 1000 stopping token. So that'll actually park the thread for us so that we aren't just sitting there chewing up resources. Now, in order for us to publish a message, I need to pull in the bus interface from MassTransit. And we'll go ahead and pull that out of the container. And here we can say await bus publish, new hello, not header value. And of course, the name has to be world. And we got to pass in the stopping token and clean it up. And that is the worker. It's really simple. Publish a message, wait a second, Have we been canceled? No. Publish a message. Wait a second. And then in order to get that registered in, we come back down here to services and we say add hosted service. Oops. Let's go ahead and add the worker. And that's everything. So if I did this right, I can say .NET run. And there we are. Hello world. Hello world, hello world. Awesome. Now, let's switch this over to use Azure. And all we're going to do here is we're going to manage our NuGet references. We're going to say MassTransit Azure Service Bus core. Notice it's the 8.0. Go ahead and add that puppy in. And now all we're going to do is say x.using Azure Service Bus. And then we got the context config. And then we'll say CFG host. And we'll pass in the connection string here. And then because we're doing dynamic discovery of our consumers, we need to go ahead and tell it to dynamically configure the endpoints as well. Okay, that should be pretty much everything. Let's jump over to the browser. So here we have a running Azure subscription. Let's walk into the default subscription that it comes with. Oh no, got to go to Service Bus. And we're going to create a Service Bus. And we're going to do it in the Azure subscription. We're going to make one called MT Demo. MT Demo. Create new, MT Demo. And the namespace name is going to be MT Demo. Can I use MT Demo? Awesome. US East is fine. Pricing tier. So MassTransit does not really work with basic. Like, you can jump through a lot of hoops that I don't recommend doing in order to make basic work. So standard and premium. And if you're going to be using this in production, absolutely use premium. So we'll choose standard for today. And we'll go to networking. We're going to do public access. I'm not going to add any tags. Everything's good. Let's go ahead and create this. And now we get to wait for this namespace to fire up. I'm going to go ahead and pause. Okay, and we're back. The resource has been created. And now I'm going to go to, I'm going to do the access via the shared access policies. And I'm going to add one. And we'll call this getting started. And I need to give it the manage permissions because MassTransit will create your topics for you. So we'll go ahead and hit create. Come over to getting started. And I'm going to grab the primary connection string. I'm going to drop that puppy in there. Yeah, this is clearly not not production code. Just make it clear. All right, so we are using the Azure Service Bus. We've passed in our connection, and we've told it to dynamically configure our endpoints. We have our worker running. Let's see if it works. So .NET run. And bus is started, and there we are. Hello world. So if I jump back to my browser, and we go to the overview, we'll probably have to wait a little bit to see the messages actually come through. But we can see that we have created the queue and we have created the topic. So we are good to go, rocking and bebopping. Awesome. So you can see that we didn't have to change much in order to get over to using Azure Service Bus. Again, this is one of the really nice things about the MassTransit framework is just that simplicity and kind of like switching around your transports. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to hit us up in the Discord channel. Otherwise, thanks for your time today.